Okay, dipstick, I'm going to take your poxy zombie takeout for a test drive. Hello and welcome to episode 534 of Zombie Takeout, the B-Movie Cult Movie Show. I'm John.
And hello, I'm Scotto.
And there's going to be a hell of an outtake at the end of this episode. A couple weeks off, I kind of forgot how we do things. Anyway, before we get to this week's movie, just a little update on the archive.org situation. We were off for 2 weeks because they have been down due to a hacking, and that's where I host our episodes. Last episodes we recorded Listomania and what was the last album?
It was oh man, how did I forget?
Whatever the last album we did.
Yes.
They're on
that proto-punk band, the Undertones.
Oh, the Undertones, yes. They're both up on our website, johnandscotto.wordpress.com. They're hosted on YouTube, so if you still subscribe to our old YouTube channel, they're on there. They won't be in the podcast feed. Doing that for the foreseeable future until this is all fixed. Archive is up and running in the sense that you can listen to our old episodes on there. So I checked, our episodes are safe.
Nice, we didn't get hacked.
Yeah,
we were not collateral damage.
They've been preserved at least or restored. So you can still get to the old episodes. I just can't log in, nor can anybody. So I can't upload to there at the moment. So still going to be using YouTube. Also, as is customary, I jumped the gun a little bit and put together my top 10 lists for the year a little bit early. We still have if you count this week, 6 episodes left. But I jumped the gun a little bit and I found a couple of interesting things. One for Zombie Takeout, one for the hearing. I'll get into that on the hearing, that part. But the interesting thing about the Zombie Takeout list, a couple of things. I've given out so far 9 5s, well, very soon to be 9 5s. A little spoiler. So, I only have 1 4.5 at the bottom of the list. The D&D movie got squeezed out.
Oh.
So it's going to be an interesting year. If I end up with another 5, it's going to be a shutout, which has never happened.
Wow. Yeah. You've had a great year here.
Also, along those lines, I don't even have enough for a bottom 5. There will be at least I won't have a worse list this year.
Man, hope Metropolis gets released to streaming soon enough so we can change this.
I have I have 3 dishonorable mentions. If you've been listening, you can guess them. So it'll be an interesting year in terms of the year end. And that will be the week before Christmas. We're going all the way to the end this year.
You're teasing the year end.
I always do that early because, like I said, I jumped the gun.
It's not jumping the gun that much. This year really winded down fast.
Yeah, we're gonna be out next week. You got a thing, and then of course we're taking
the week after.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. Next week, week after next, we're out, and then we're also out 2 weeks after that for Thanksgiving. So yeah, we're not doing much in November, and then we got 3 more in December. Anyway, finally on to this week's movie, which is from 1990. I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle. First off, I want to give a shout out to Sophie from Soft Focus on YouTube for making me aware of this movie. Soft Focus is a great B-movie show on YouTube. Highly recommend it. There will be a link to the episode about this movie in the show notes.
Cool.
And of course, that brings us to the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by the Normal Commando. Almost definitely guaranteed to not be possessed by a vampire, in most cases.
And also brought to you by the Crucifrican gun. It's always loaded. All right, so we have our run-of-the-mill satanic cults, minding their own business, having a ritual.
Trying to raise a demon.
And some young punks come along and shoot their arrows, and just as he's getting possessed, they kill the vessel.
Thank you for putting an ABC song in my head.
So what's what is a demon to do when his vessel is just about to be killed? He needs to go into the next available vessel, and that happens to be a motorcycle.
Well,
And
through the cult leader at first.
yeah, he was in the cult leader's body,
Well, no,
and
you
then
see him come out of the ritual site into the cult
right,
leader's
right,
corpse and then into the motorcycle.
yeah, and it goes into the motorcycle, and well, I'm not sure. It gets into after being on the crime scene, gets taken up by this other local mechanic who sells it for kind of a ridiculously high price for the condition it's in, and well, it's a fixer-upper, and as he's fixing it, some strange things start happening with it. Of course, the demon is very subtle in his initial uh, movements, and well, he winds up running into that gang again and getting into fights with them. And the bike, of course, starts to have a mind of its own, where it's smashing other bikes, it's killing people, goes on a killing spree. It manages to keep itself hidden from our hero for a little bit, but then finally it runs off with his girl, and he blames the girl at first, but that's when it finally dawns on him that his bike is possessed, and it is doing all this shit on its own. Meanwhile, there's been this weird cop who has been who reeks of garlic,
Mhm.
uh, but that was just a coincidence, I think. Like at first, when he was smelling of garlic, I thought he knew he was tracking a vampire, and it
Mhm.
was
Yeah,
he was on the
he
case.
just likes garlic.
But the reality is, nope, he just likes garlic, and of course that comes in handy plot wise later. Um, and of course he's taking people in for questioning and what this and that, and finally, uh, when our hero figures out what needs to be done, he runs to get a priest, not an old
Mhm.
priest and a young priest,
Kind of a
but
almost middle-aged one.
yeah, a golden priest, if you
Mhm.
will, who's
Yeah, I didn't tell
fluent
you
in.
about that part.
Yeah, I know. Like, what the fuck? Fluent in and how many languages? I can't believe I
I don't
forget.
remember.
Yeah, I mean, he said it like
6 million forms of communication, I believe the line
six
was.
million forms of communication. I knew it was something in the millions.
Mhm.
Um,
Anthony Daniels plays the priest.
yes, and he knows some sort of Latin or some close bastardization of it because he has an exorcism with the bike, and of course, the exorcism isn't going to work because there's like 20 minutes left of the movie, and they wind up going on an all-out battle with it in a gym, and hilarity ensues.
It was just barely recommendable. And then Anthony Daniels showed up. Starting off with a bit of trivia, the movie was written and produced by two former Central Television film editors who developed the idea for the film following a screening of Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead.
Really? Okay, that I could see that.
Director Drew Campbell stated that he wanted the film to, quote, have the look of a serious horror movie, a gritty realistic look that used the decaying back streets of Birmingham, so nothing jumps out at you to tell you it's a comedy,
Right.
except
Well,
maybe the title.
and then the score is kind of what
Yeah,
the problem part of that,
loved that opening music. It's super dramatic synthesizer music that just
Right.
screams B horror.
Like, but then when the cop comes on, the cop had his own little, little womp womp theme
Yeah, true.
that, you just didn't need, we knew the cop is weird.
And I gotta question whether the gang were the bad guys or the good guys, because they didn't just mess with the cult. That was an assassination.
Yeah,
The
they
leader of the gang took him out with a crossbow at range. Sniped him,
I think
basically.
I think they were the good guys. They didn't. They disapproved of this cult fucking around on their territory,
Hmm.
and they 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 thought when they saw Naughty with the bike that he was resuming with the cult.
Well, no, they didn't know who Naughty was. They wouldn't have messed with him at all. The bike went after them.
That's true. The bike
The
went after
bike
them.
recognized them and went after them. When the demon transfers from the ritual site to the corpse of the cult leader, it's this cute little like animated fire. I just thought that was an interesting choice for a demon. I will admit the Norland Commando, which is the model of the bike, is an upgrade from the glorified moped we first see Naughty on.
That's why he wanted it.
The crotch rocket is too nice of a thing to call it. Um, Also loved when he's buying the bike. The guy selling it to him notices the blood, and he says it looks like HP sauce.
Now, at first I was a little confused because HP sauce is informally known as the brown sauce, which wouldn't be mistaken for blood, but
It's steak sauce. It's very similar to steak sauce if you know what that is in the U.S.
but it's kind of like Heinz 57. But the thing is, it was blood and gas mixed
Yeah.
together,
Hence the brown.
which I'm wondering if they were actually using HP sauce as the prop to
Probably.
represent it, to call out what it actually is in the script.
The first death is Naughty's obnoxious friend Buzzer, who helps him with the bike. His door is smashed in a very bike-like shape.
Yeah,
You can tell if you know the title of the movie. You know it was the bike that killed him.
the absurd tire tracks all over the wall.
Yeah.
All over the walls. I think even on the ceiling a little bit, maybe.
I love that they weren't trying to fool you ever at that point.
Right? And there's just like, I don't know who could have done this. How they did this?
And somehow the bike took off Buzzer's head.
Yeah. Well, the bike had a habit of being able to just
Generate
sever.
weapons. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few people that get cut in half in different ways by just having the bike up against them somehow.
And later, Naughty kept the severed head. He opens it and opens the case it's in, and the head says hello to him, which
Well,
really caught me off guard. Turned out to be a dream.
Right. That was a dream sequence, and well,
The following dream sequence is. In my notes, I have it was unnecessary or just unnecessary.
When talking about this movie this morning with Mrs. Scotto, I used the word unnecessary too. However, it's clearly where the South Park guys got Mr. Hanky from.
In the grand scheme of the movie, I see why it's there. I see why it works.
Oh, there was no need for it. But, I mean, obviously, you don't cut that out. Because, I mean, it is what it is.
Naughty is taking his morning shit. He looks at it afterward. It says hello to him. And he's kind of shocked by this, of course. And then there's a short conversation. And then it jumps into his mouth and tries to kill him.
Or, to describe it, my notes, I say, holy, well, you shouldn't shit where you eat, right? You get it?
Yeah.
Shit where you eat,
Right.
because it went into his mouth.
I don't know why I'm explaining the joke. It's funny. It's still.
Oh, of course it is, because that's the part of that, that's when you have to explain for the explanation's funnier than the actual joke.
I've been playing Straight to You for like 31 years. I don't know why that's still funny to me. There's a running gag with an old man who narrowly escapes getting hit by the bikes and then gets hit by a car.
Right.
Also made no
You
sense,
see it
but it
coming from a mile away, too.
makes no sense, but fits in the grand scheme of the film. The biker using a crossbow is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that leads us perfectly into, of course, the medieval bar fight, which
Yeah,
is probably one of my favorite scenes of the
yeah. Oh, it's a
movie.
beautiful bar fight. Not because of the choreography, which I usually point out. Although the choreography, it's not good choreography, but it's fun choreography.
It's it's bad choreography, and it's like it's gleefully bad choreography. It's like that joke I just told. Honestly, the choreography is just that.
Yeah.
And they have a few scenes like that where it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I especially liked the guy who just didn't react when Nadi broke the bottle over his head.
But it's like this whole Three
Yeah.
Musketeers kind of thing. Only
Mm.
it's a bar fight with a biker gang. But when they go back into like that whole medieval themed banquet hall, because it looks like it's just a normal pub,
Yeah, yeah.
they go in.
It's a pub with like a banquet hall in the back, and that's where they end up fighting.
But it's all medieval themed.
Yeah.
There's medieval weapons all over the
Hmm.
place.
And then Nadi takes a crossbow bolt to the arm, and he's more annoyed than hurt or shocked. It's
And
like it's happened before.
they don't ever address it either. Like I don't remember them ever like, oh, I gotta like bandage this up or anything.
Like, if you've never been shot by a crossbow or an arrow, it's kind of a big fucking deal if you get shot by one. You're gonna scream, you're probably gonna pass out.
Ow.
Yeah. He's just kind of annoyed by it.
Yeah.
And then one of the bikers steals the vampire motorcycle. It puts a spike through his leg. At that point, I was like, okay, where did that come from? This is before we saw, the bike sprouting weapons and fangs,
Right.
I'll put in quotes.
I love the irony of the vampire shooting stakes through the hearts of
Yeah.
humans. And oh, we skipped a crucial scene of this,
Okay.
the motorcycle funeral,
Oh, yeah.
because that was before the bar fight.
Right, right.
My apology. We were just so distracted by the Mr. Hanky scene
Yeah.
and the medieval bar fight
I kind of
that we
wanted to get
forgot.
to the fight. I kind of skipped over
Same
the
here.
funeral scene. Yeah, so it's a funeral for Buzzer, the friend who was killed, not his friend who was
Yes.
killed earlier in the film. The bikers show up. There's a little exchange between the mourners and them.
They had, instead of a hearse, they had him on a motorcycle. And of course, they even make a point of mentioning that why is he not on a hearse? And of course, there's like, you would have wanted it that way.
Mm.
It's very weird how also how Naughty reacted to Buzzer's death.
Yeah,
I mean,
it wasn't a big deal.
they made a point of him not making a big deal out of it either. Like
Mm.
his girlfriend's like, "Oh, come on, though, this is your friend and everything," and he's just kind of like, "Eh." Like they went a couple points back into it, and he would get no reaction to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about Naughty. About 13 minutes in, I was rooting for the bike against him. Um,
Yeah, he's a bit of an asshole, of course, and a bit slow on the draw too. I mean, paying that much money for a bike that's been in a
yeah,
wreck, you're kind of
yeah,
like, what? In 1990 prices?
yeah. When one of the bikers steals the vampire bike, I love how he gets killed. It's just beautifully gory.
There was a number of nice deaths there.
Yeah.
The guy getting flung into the coffin might have been a bit too on the nose, but you know.
Yeah. Gotta wonder why one of the bikers was way older than the others.
Yeah, he was like somebody's dad just hanging out, and he was the one that would say the dumb, obvious things.
Oh, there's one scene where the cops pull over a drunk driver. I adore this line. He says, "I haven't had any cunt drinks, Double." Over there in the UK, cunt isn't that big of a deal. It's just a
Well,
normal
yeah.
insult. It's a much bigger deal in the US, of course.
But now we get to
Yeah. Great Anthony Daniels.
yes.
The best part of the film, easily. Anthony Daniels, as a badass priest, bought this movie a brain.
Just the introduction to him in the confession.
Mhm.
Just ring the other one.
And then they go to leave. He wants to see the bike, and he refuses to ride on Nadi's glorified moped. He says, "Stay here." You think he's getting a car? He comes around in this like badass like Munster style chopper
with the sidecar and everything.
Yeah.
That hearing him in that confession, it just like Father 3PO is there to
Yeah.
take your thing.
He was
It's
a
like,
little
that goes-
gravelier than 3PO because obviously he went higher for 3PO.
But for confession though, it was like he was there. But then yeah, you're right, he got gravelier and I was like, is that still Anthony Daniels? They're like, oh yeah, that is.
I think he probably pitched up for 3PO because a lot of it is kind of whiny.
Yeah.
Love how seriously the exorcism scene is played.
Well, Nadi's kind of like, what the fuck's, it feels like he's the only one that's concerned about safety or anything. Where the priest is just in his own little world.
Yeah. Well, no, but the priest is going to war. He doesn't
Yeah,
care.
yeah.
He's going to take this thing out. The horns and spikes coming out of the bike was a really nice effect.
Oh yeah.
I loved when Kim is in the hospital. The girlfriend is in the hospital at this point because of the bike. And she's got all of this garlic hanging around her. She's got a bunch of crosses on because they know it's a vampire. And one of the
And
nurses
they knew it was going to come back for her too,
Yeah.
which of course, I mean, it would.
and one of the nurses insists on taking down the garlic because she can't stand the smell, and she takes off all the crosses because she has to give Kim a sponge bath. No, we didn't see the sponge bath.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that because it's like what's gonna happen now, right?
Yeah.
In the inevitable scene when the bike shows up at the hospital, I loved it pushing two pipes into the neck of one of the nurses like fangs.
Right, and it was going to do that to Nadi too.
Okay, and earlier in the film I missed it.
No, towards the end.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that's the first time we see the two pipes like
Yeah.
fangs. It was a really nice touch. Also, when that nurse got cut in half, that was some really nice gore. I don't know how he managed to throw it over the side of a bridge into the water.
And you knew that couldn't be it,
Oh, yeah.
I would have been really disappointed if water
Well, there was like 10
is what
minutes
took
left
it
of the
out.
movie.
Yeah.
I liked the bubbles coming up to try to convince you, like it's breathing.
Like it's taking its last breath. The nice red light to
Mhm.
eerie,
Following him. I actually laughed out loud when the guy at the gym pushed the door to the tanning room.
Oh, fuck. The gym fight scene is just. It's so badly choreographed.
Mhm.
It's hilarious. It's like they didn't tell the guys in the gym what to do. It's
Yeah.
like they improvised it almost.
Mhm.
So,
When you think the bike is dead, it shows up at a gym.
and it's just. It's these guys moving really slowly for some reason.
Mhm.
Because I guess having a bike inside and the camera inside, they didn't have much room to move around.
Mhm.
And just watching that for a while of them like going, whoa, it's really funny.
I get the impression that they spent so much money on Is it Neil Morrissey? Nutty?
Yes.
On Neil Morrissey and of course Anthony Daniels, that just about everybody else wasn't really an actor. Except maybe
Right.
Kim was, but the extras, the big day players, probably not actors.
I'm guessing the detective was.
Oh yeah, he was of course. But the day players, probably most of them not actors.
And the guy in the Chinese restaurant, he's really familiar
Okay.
from other movies. Oh my god, I just looked up. He's Kato from the Pink Panther films.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that would have been awesome if he had a fight scene.
But they're trying to get into this room, in the gym scene, and they're pushing on it, or they're pulling on it. They're trying to open the door. And
Yeah.
one of the guys at the gym, who was in the gym when they got there, just walks over and pushes them open.
And you just push it.
Yeah. And that's the room where the tanning bed is. So, of course, the tanning bed, sunlight is the one thing that
Yes.
can kill the bike. Loved seeing it melt. That was a really nice effect. Not sure how I feel about the I Smell sequel.
Well, they had to do that.
Yeah, That's why I say I'm not sure. Because, like, yeah, from a cliche parody sense, I know they had to do an I Smell sequel. But, yeah, and I get it in that sense. It's just, I'm just, it's so obvious a move that I'm not sure. If it wasn't for the parody aspect, I would have hated it.
Well, right, but this had to follow that format, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
I think it would have been weird if it was like, and that's the end of that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah, they had to do it. I get that.
Everything about this is taking that Friday the 13th
Yeah.
format, only it's a
Saturday the
motorcycle.
14th.
Well, no, I was thinking the Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay. The actual serious, yes,
Yeah,
slasher thing. Yeah.
like they were taking that, only instead of a dude, big dude, it's a
Mhm.
motorcycle.
Right. Sequels and remakes.
Sequels and remakes.
I would love to see Edgar Wright do a remake of this.
Uh, if if they couldn't make a musical sell out of this, I don't know what they're doing,
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that would be amazing, I think.
But Edgar Wright has the perfect style to fit this movie. I
Uh,
half expected Simon Pegg to show up in it.
he's almost too high brow for it almost, you
Hmm.
know?
But a lot of it really reminded me of Sean and Hot
Oh
Fuzz.
yeah, yeah.
I think this was an influence on both of them.
Definitely. Yeah, it feels like this influenced quite a bit.
On the brands,
On the brains.
as I've already said a couple times, it's a 5 for me. It was a 4. It was definitely recommendable, but I was debating on a 4.5. And then Anthony Daniels showed up, and a badass priest as C-3PO. I got to give it a 5.
Uh there there's some jokes that they're so bad I'm not even sure if they were jokes. They were told in the cadence of a joke, and I'm not sure if they were like a placeholder for a joke.
Mm.
So there's like some moments where you're kind of like, okay. But overall, it's fucking hilarious, especially just the action, and I'm going to use air quotes here,
Mm.
fight scenes.
Yeah.
So I'm going 4.5.
And what have you learned?
I've had cars that required exorcisms, and I really could have used a protocol droid to
Mm.
help me out.
And I learned that I need to see more of Anthony Daniels' work because all I've seen is this on C-3PO, and he's brilliant.
And Naughty, of course, I don't know if we mentioned this on air, but is the voice of Bob the fucking Builder.
Okay, yeah, I knew that. Sophie mentioned that on Soft Focus. I've never seen it.
Just so weird.
He was also in the British version of Men Behaving Badly, the original British version. Um, the name is familiar. I'm not sure why. Maybe he was like on a Doctor Who episode. I might know him from that. I gotta look.
Uh, I think I've seen him on like the various murder mystery
Okay,
shows.
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that's it for I Bought a Vampire Motorcycle. Until next time, and we'll finally be getting to the first 4 episodes of The Expanse on the TV show. Always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life,
There you are.
Hello and welcome to Zombie Takeout. Oh, I forgot how to do this. It's been a couple weeks.
That's a great outtake.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we start the show now.
Hello and welcome to episode 534 of Zombie Takeout,
We
the B-movie and cult movie show. I'm John.
Wait, we skipped the intro.
This is definitely going into next week.
You did it again.
Okay.
What did you think you missed the first time around?
I introed it like the hearing.
Oh.
That's what I thought I messed up. But yeah, I skipped it. Okay.
I don't think we've done that in 20 years.
So it's happened before. It's been
Or
after
18.
after a break.